We're tracking a dry start this morning. However, we are seeing some low visibility for some locations associated with some fog. So please take it slow on your travels, especially down towards Shenandoah County, as well as Warren, Page, and Madison counties, where we're seeing some locations down to less than a mile of visibility. I'll have more details on this. We'll get towards the rest of that 7 day coming up.
And developing this morning, an off-duty FBI agent shoots and kills a passenger inside a Red Line metro station. What police are saying in the early hours of the investigation.
Plus, more school shooting hoaxes in West Virginia, how police departments and frightened school districts are dealing with a disturbing trend across the nation.
And suing Amazon, why DC's Attorney General is going after the consumer giant before leaving office.
The station covering all of the DMV. This is DC News Now.
All right, at 6 o'clock on this Thursday morning. Good morning to you. Thanks for joining us. I'm Corey James.
And I'm Shanika Grimshaw in for Tanaya Wright. We're going to head over to the Weather Center. That's meteorologist Jackie Layer to check on this foggy morning. Hi, Jackie.
Yeah, hello there. Good morning, Shanika and Corey. Out there this morning, we're taking a live look at the Capitol building, and we're not seeing too much fog in this shot right now, but a few other locations we're seeing some dense fog, and that's certainly the case down towards Woodstock and Luray, and even down towards Culpeper. We're down to about a mile or less in the visibility. And not only that, we're seeing that also in Frederick. In the district, we're about 7 miles of visibility, but other locations, even down towards Lexington Park, about a mile. So again, it depends on location, and as you're driving, just make sure that you are taking it slow and being a little bit more cautious, where we are seeing that visibility down to less than a mile. Radar, though, thankfully is all clear to kickstart your Thursday morning. And again, in comparison to the last couple of mornings, at least thankfully we are seeing those dry conditions. Temperatures out there right now, depending on where you are, we're seeing upper 30s to low to mid 40s, even some locations still holding on to 50. We're seeing that in Fredericksburg as well as Cumberland, but many are starting off into the 40s. For those kids at the bus stop this morning, those temperatures will be varying into the 40s, and we'll likely see some patchy fog at times. Otherwise, we're looking mainly cloudy. We could even see some sunshine later on today. I'll have more details on that coming up, but right now, do you want to toss it over to Shanika with the very latest on traffic? How's it looking?
Oh, well, it's so much better, Jackie. Good news for commuters out in Northern Virginia. This is in Fairfax. We've been talking about this serious crash and investigation pretty much since before 5. Now is 66 heading east right before Nutley Street. That's when you'll find that situation. But again, that has now cleared. You're good to go. You probably will see some lingering delays, though, so do keep that in mind as you're headed out.
All right, developing this morning, police are putting together the moments leading up to a deadly shooting involving an FBI agent on a Metro Center platform.
Yeah, we've been following this story since it first happened last night. DC News Now's Randy Bass is at the scene following the latest developments. Hey, Randy.
Yeah, Corey, Shanika, this morning we're getting a clearer picture of what happened in the moments leading up to that shooting on the Metro Center platform. It happened here last night around 6:20 during the busy evening commute. Plenty of people, plenty of witnesses around saw what happened. Those deadly shots sent people on the platform into a panic, running for cover. And this morning, we're also learning that police on scene were able to look at some video that gave them some of the details they were looking for in terms of what happened leading up to that shooting. Now, we haven't seen that video. Police haven't shared it with the public, but officers say the moments leading up to those shots were dramatic. Here's how they describe what they saw.
There's numerous passengers waiting for a train to arrive. These two individuals, and again, this is preliminary video, they're involved in this altercation. One of the individuals holds out a hand and is assaulted by another, okay? The two individuals go over the wall. It's an 8-foot drop. It's not near the tracks, it's behind them. They drop down, there's a tunnel, there's a walkway, there's like a tunnel down there. Yes, they go down 8 feet. The struggle continues, and that's when shots are fired.
The off-duty FBI special agent who fired those shots was also injured during the fight. This morning, the FBI confirming those injuries are minor, but they were taken to a hospital for treatment. The FBI also saying that shooting is under internal review. The DC Police Department is taking the lead on the overall investigation. What's still not clear at this point, the big question, what sparked that fight, that altercation on the Metro Center train platform? Another detail we don't know at this hour, who the FBI agent who was involved in the shooting, and who was the person who was shot and killed on the platform. All questions we plan to follow up with police today. For now, reporting at Metro Center, I'm Randy Bass. Back to you.
All right, Randy, thank you so much for that update. Now, switching gears to Loudoun County, where the school board will hold an emergency meeting tonight to name Dr. Daniel Smith the next acting superintendent after the previous one was fired. Marielle Carbone has a story out of Northern Virginia.
I was really shocked. I don't think anyone expects that things like this are happening inside of a school.
But they did happen. 2 separate sexual assaults at 2 different Loudoun County high schools by 1 student.
It was all very disturbing.
Meredith Ray is a parent of 2 LCPS students. She says a grand jury report released Monday, which investigates how the district, school board, and sheriff's office handled the assaults, shows a clear failure.
There was a failure on a lot of different people who were supposed to be in charge of making sure that things like this don't happen.
The report found LCPS administrators were looking out for their own interest. It all led to this moment Tuesday night.
That the school board vote to terminate the employment of Dr. Ziegler.
The firing of Superintendent Dr. Scott Ziegler.
And I'm glad that they handled it quickly and swiftly.
Do you support that?
I do, absolutely.
Amanda Bean is a mother of 3 current LCPS students and 1 former student. She's also a board member of the PAC, Loudoun for All.
But there were 2 girls who were really hurt that really needed the adults in the community to focus on them and support them.
She believes there was a lack of clear policy and training on how to handle the situation. As far as Ziegler goes,
he actively seemed to mislead parents, and obviously that is not okay.
But she says this is just a first step in moving forward. Loudoun for All is also calling for Sheriff Michael Chapman to resign after the report claims his agency only pressed charges on the suspect after public outrage, not after the initial assault.
To know that our sheriff's office will only pursue a brutal attack if there's enough public attention is really, really worrisome.
And that was our Marielle Carbone reporting. Now, this morning, West Virginia school districts are on high alert after 4 schools received false reports of an active shooter yesterday. The West Virginia Department of Homeland Security says false threats were made in 12 different counties, and authorities say it's part of a growing trend known as swatting. According to the director of school resource officers, the goal is to tie up police, waste community resources, and cause trauma.
It draws resources from other parts of the community as well as other communities, because historically when you have an active assailant call that goes out, it's not just the local law enforcement responding, it's other agencies, other jurisdictions responding. So we're losing a lot of resources.
So far, no word on any arrests made after those false calls. And we're learning more about the death of a well-known mobster and government informant, Whitey Bulger. According to the Justice Department, there were multiple management failures and flawed policies that allowed inmates to beat him. Now, the report also found that Bureau officials failed to take into account Bulger's notoriety when making the transfer, choosing to keep him in general population. In recent years, the Bureau has come under fire after the death of multiple high-profile inmates like Bulger and Jeffrey Epstein. Despite the findings, though, the report states that there were no malicious intent by any employees. And developing this morning, D.C. Attorney General Karl Racine is using the last few weeks of his term to sue companies he believes are misleading consumers and stealing from workers. One of those companies that he's going after is Amazon. D.C. News Now's Leonard and Fleming has what caused the Attorney General to take legal action.
In his final weeks as D.C.'s Attorney General, Karl Racine is fighting for the little guy. His office is accusing Amazon.com and Amazon Logistics of basically stealing from its workers and deceiving consumers over how its tips of so-called flex drivers are doled out. And for Racine's office, Amazon must be held accountable.
When consumers provide tips and a company solicits tips, it's important that those tips actually go to the workers.
Graham Lake, the chief of workers' rights and anti-fraud section for the Office of the Attorney General for the District of Columbia, says that's not what Amazon.com is doing. Lake says they are misleading customers.
And between 2016 and 2019, Amazon Flex solicited tips that instead diverted for its own purposes and to subsidize its labor costs.
The lawsuit says during checkout for Amazon Flex orders, Amazon solicited tips from consumers and then promised that 100% of the tip would be given to the driver. In the lawsuit, it says the practice was used to subsidize the company's own labor costs. Brad Greenwood, an associate professor of information systems at George Mason University, says the ruse was quite clever.
The idea was actually you had variable pay, which was contingent based on the amount that the tip came in. Right? And this is problematic because if people believe that they're tipping and those will go on top of prevailing wages, then it's misrepresenting what's happening to the consumer.
Win or lose, Lake says this suit was needed to protect the consumer and drivers.
Where the facts and law lead is where this office goes. I think it's been a priority from the beginning of Attorney General Racine's tenure to the end to protect both workers and consumers.
Amazon officials couldn't be reached for comment. This isn't the first time, though, Racine is tangled with the company. He sued Amazon last year over driving up prices for consumers, but that suit was dismissed by a judge. In the studio, Leonard N. Fleming, DC News Now. Back to you.
All right, 6:09 is your time this morning. New this morning, a firefighter from Frederick County, Maryland, died battling a fire in Pennsylvania. The Career Firefighters Association of Frederick County confirmed this news that Zachary Pierce is passing in a Facebook post last night. Now, he responded to a house fire with the new Tripoli volunteer fire company yesterday and died battling the blaze. Pierce started working with the Green Valley Fire Station in Monrovia, Maryland earlier this year. He leaves behind a wife and 2 children. How are you?
All right, your time right now is 6:10
It
on
is.
this Thursday morning.